Recent reports in the American media have likely left many military enthusiasts feeling confused, even unsure of the situation. While everyone expected the rumored fourth aircraft carrier to be unveiled next, American outlets suddenly began discussing an even later fifth carrier, and the claims they made were quite alarming. They suggested this fifth vessel could have a displacement approaching or even reaching 150,000 tons. This figure is indeed staggering, especially considering the current global ceiling for carrier tonnage. So how likely is this scenario to become reality? Let's first review the known facts. Carrier construction proceeds step by step, a concept everyone understands. From the well-known Liaoning to the Shandong, and now the recently commissioned Fujian, these represent the first, second, and third steps. The Fujian officially joined the fleet in November 2025, bringing the total number of active carriers to 3. Around the time of the Fujian's commissioning, rumors about future carriers began circulating. An early, widely circulated theory suggested the fourth carrier would be a sister ship to the Fujian, essentially an optimized and improved version of the Fujian with a conventional propulsion system, not nuclear-powered. The fifth carrier, it was claimed, would represent a major leap forward, adopting nuclear propulsion with the goal of matching or even surpassing the capabilities of the U.S. Navy's most advanced Ford-class carriers. However, over the past few years, this theory has gradually been shown to be potentially inaccurate, particularly since 2025. Foreign media and commercial satellite companies have been actively releasing images showing the construction of a large vessel within a major shipyard's dry dock. By late 2025, these images grew increasingly clear and detailed, further confirming the construction of a substantial vessel. Through these publicly available satellite photos, observers gradually discerned key differences. Both the overall framework design and internal layout features of the ship under construction diverged significantly from the already commissioned Fujian-class carrier. Even from its external silhouette, the platform dimensions of this vessel were noticeably larger than those of the Fujian. This indicated that the ship under construction aligned more closely in design and concept with earlier rumors describing the fifth aircraft carrier, rather than the fourth. In other words, the fourth carrier, previously thought to be an improved variant of the Fujian, might not materialize. The vessel currently under construction could instead be regarded as the new fourth carrier. Progress on this new fourth ship is advancing rapidly. Photographs show that the bottom sections of the hull have been largely assembled. Based on estimates from foreign research institutions considering construction pace and similar shipbuilding timelines, this carrier could potentially be launched in the first half of 2027. Following launch, a series of tasks including outfitting, mooring trials, and sea trials will be required, collectively taking another 2 to 3 years. Consequently, formal delivery to the fleet is projected around 2030. Regarding the carrier's propulsion system, there is now little dispute, with numerous analyses indicating it will employ nuclear power. Satellite imagery reveals specialized compartment structures reserved for nuclear reactor installation, bearing similarities to early photographs of U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carriers during their construction. However, two distinct estimates have emerged regarding the carrier's full load displacement. One estimate suggests around 107,000 tons, while another more optimistic view proposes it could reach 120,000 tons. Which of these is correct remains uncertain at this stage. The truth will likely only emerge once the carrier is actually launched, with more precise official data or accurate measurements becoming available. Originally, everyone was focused on this new fourth-class carrier, speculating about its displacement and performance. But in recent days, reports from American media have shifted attention to an even more distant future, directly beginning discussions about a fifth aircraft carrier. Moreover, the figures being discussed are quite staggering, suggesting the fifth carrier's full load displacement could approach, or even reach, 150,000 tons. What does 150,000 tons mean? For comparison, the world's largest carriers today, like the U.S. Ford class, have a full load displacement of around 100,000 tons. If a 150,000-ton carrier were to materialize, it would be equivalent to combining the displacements of 2 Shandong-class carriers and 1 Fujian-class carrier, a completely different league in terms of size. This claim certainly sounds far-fetched. To date, the 100,000-ton class represents a mature benchmark in aircraft carrier development, and every step beyond that presents enormous technical challenges. First and foremost is the issue of propulsion. What level of power output would be required to propel a 150,000-ton behemoth to speeds exceeding 30 knots? To what extent would the power of nuclear reactors need to be increased? This isn't simply a matter of combining 2 existing reactors. It involves a complete redesign and integration of the entire propulsion system, a core challenge that must be overcome years in advance. Secondly, whether shipyard infrastructure can support such a project remains uncertain. Building a vessel of this scale demands sufficiently large dry docks and gantry cranes with adequate load-bearing capacity. These infrastructure limitations set the upper bounds of construction capability. While large-scale shipbuilding facilities exist, their capacity to accommodate a 150,000-ton hull remains uncertain. Furthermore, an aircraft carrier isn't built merely for display. It requires berthing, resupply, and maintenance. Can existing naval-based docks provide sufficient water depth and load-bearing capacity? Will supporting ammunition, fuel, and spare parts warehouses meet the demands of such a massive carrier? These are all issues requiring simultaneous consideration and development. It's unthinkable to build an aircraft carrier, only to find no place to dock it. Finally, from an operational standpoint, whether bigger is always better is debatable. Could excessive size compromise maneuverability, increase turning radius, or limit top speed? Might an overly large flight deck complicate aircraft scheduling and reduce sortie efficiency? These are critical trade-offs that must be weighed during design. Looking back at America's own development history reveals certain patterns. As early as the beginning of the 21st century, when planning the next generation of carriers, the successor to the Ford class, the U.S. did propose some bold concepts, such as designs with full load displacements of 130,000 tons or even 170,000 tons. Ultimately, however, the U.S. Navy opted against these overly aggressive proposals, returning to practicality by developing the 100,000-ton Ford class based on mature technologies. This demonstrates that increasing an aircraft carrier's displacement isn't simply a matter of desire. It requires careful consideration of a series of practical issues, including technological maturity, construction capabilities, operational costs, and maintenance support. Therefore, regarding the recent U.S. media report suggesting a 150,000-ton displacement for the fifth carrier, it's best to take them with a grain of salt. Aircraft carrier development has always been a step-by-step process. While there are generational leaps between each class, they typically don't involve abrupt, cliff-like jumps. From the retrofitting of the Liaoning to the indigenous construction of the Shandong, and then to the electromagnetic catapult system on the Fujian, each step has been solidly executed, accumulating experience and validating technologies. If the upcoming, new fourth ship truly becomes a 120,000-ton nuclear-powered carrier, that would represent a remarkable leap, directly matching, or even surpassing U.S. carrier standards in certain aspects. As for the subsequent fifth carrier, it is more likely to be an optimized and refined variant of the new fourth ship, possibly a sister ship or one with upgraded systems. However, a direct leap to the 150,000-ton class appears highly improbable at this stage. Aircraft carriers are massive engineering projects, where every detail requires rigorous testing and validation. Their specifications are not arbitrary numbers decided on a whim.